So for this next part of making structure on our form, I ran into a little glitch. If I try to actually select the elements inside of the actual project environment, Revit's not allowing me to pick the individual line that I want to use and or the forms as separate elements. So I'm going to close this off and I'm going to just select the line this way in the base form drawing. So we'll go along, we'll build a structure in this, and then we'll actually load everything back into the main file again. So if I go back out to Dynamo, let's hope it's not pointing at the current document. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to go ahead and close this off, and I'm going to restart it so that it knows that I want it to work with this document. And I'm just taking you through the introduction part of this. We're going to go through and then build all of the individual structure. But the idea here is that we're going to base most of our structure along this spline that we created, and then use the form as an intercept to define the edges of our structure. So I've got Dynamo open now, reopen now, and we're going to use what I had created previously as a line, it's called. And I'll go to full screen just for a minute. We'll select, we want to select the model line. So I'm going to go in here and grab that. Then I've got to go back to Dynamo and get the face. I'm going to select the surface. And then we should be able to run this. Oops, there's Dynamo. And actually, it's gone ahead and run. It's set on automatic. And so this is where we're going to go with this project. Let me just flip to straight geometry. So I've taken that form now, and I don't know why our search box is up there. Let's see if we get our controls back here. Yep. All right. So the idea here is that we take that curve. We're going to divide it up into little segments, find a plane that is perpendicular to that, and then build a disk, which you can't see right now, and I'll make that visual. And then we intercept that disk in the form, get a line from that to make our beams, and we go back and we build these purlins. So we make a relatively complex piece of geometry in this. And there are many other ways to do this, but the one thing about this is it's a very basic way, and it allows you to look at the idea of how you can manipulate lists in order to accomplish all kinds of important tasks that you would want to. So let's quickly just run through the maybe an overview of how this will play out. I got to click over a number to get rid of get my hand back. So we selected both a line and a face, and we divide that path. So if I hit this right now, this is visible. I'm not seeing those lines highlighted. There's a lot going on here. I'm trying to see. Okay, so I divide the path, this line that we've selected, which only had 3 or 4 control points on it, I'm dividing it into 20 different divisions. So now we have 20 points along that, which is the same amount of beams that we're going to construct. So we take that divided path and we pick up points, these individual points that are along those divided paths, and we make a new shape, and it's a little bit complicated. If I show this model element, and you can't, I'm going to zoom into one little area here. So this is the actual NURBS curve, this line here, and here's the new curve. This is a panel by points. So what I'm trying to do is just really make an approximation of this shape very accurately, though, but it's still no longer a NURBS. And the reason for that is that allows us to pick these points out and then generate these normal lines, which are what we use to create our beam geometry up on top. So we took, just a review, we took our line, we're dividing that up into 20 points, a divided path. That divided path gives us those points. We reconnect those points to make a polycurve. And the polycurve is what will allow us to create our planes. And if I was to highlight these, let's turn these on for a minute. ultimately what we're doing is we're making these huge discs around these points that are parallel to it. And they then allow us to do this subtraction where we intersect with the outside form to create these curved elements, which I just think is a fun way to think about manipulating this geometry. So we make those discs. I'll turn this back off again so it's not so busy. We make a surface by patch. If you looked at these are solids. We needed solids so that we could do the geometry intersection. If I turn, these are on preview, so you can now see that that's the lines that get generated from that. And they should show up if we did a watch box as lines. So let's plug this geometry in. And then we have a NURBS curve, and we have 20 of them, and they're all a list within a list, which is okay, but just something to be aware of when we get to other parts of manipulating. So then we do a curve offset, which is to take the curve that we have and offset another curve from it, a distance of 0.3 feet. This is just a slider for controlling the depth of that. And then we thicken it to make it wider. So if we turn this on, now we got the idea that we're making a beam that is now 6 inches thick. And we tell it which direction to actually thicken that curve. And then we make it back into a surface again. If I turn the preview on for this. And let's turn this off. Let's see if it shows up. Oh, I'm not getting a good visualization of it. And well, let's say surface thicken. There we got our, let me just zoom in here so you can see what we've got now. So now we've got this blue surface, which is the line extruded down to make it wider and then thickened. And in this case, I'm going both to the left and right side of the line. Both sides is true. As a matter of fact, if you watch, if I click false, this will rerun and those beams will jump to one side or the other of the line. So I'm going to put this true so they're sitting right on the middle of that disc line that we created. So that makes those beams. And that's really the easier part of the project, because the next one is to take those same beams and then divide those off. Let's see where we're doing this here. Well, first of all, we take it and we take each one of these curves and we offset it. We just drop it down a little bit, and that's to keep that's to control where this purlin intersects with the beam. And we take that new curve that we've got. Let's see if I can, it's buried within so much form right now. You can't see it, but there's another beam curve through here that we're going to divide into 6 points. And at 6 points are 6 little points along the line. And if I don't know if we can see these. It's really important, but we'll get to that. When we go through and build it, you'll see that clearer. And then the idea is that we have all of those points on each one of those, and then in order to connect all the geometry together, we need to be able to pick a point from this one that is identical to the point in this one, so that we go through and we make this piece of NURBS curve geometry, which is also another crossbeam, and I call them purlins in this case, and they are they're extruded curves that are just thickened up, and that's their geometry highlighted. And I know that description was a little bit complicated, so hopefully when we go through and work this up, it'll all appear a little bit cleaner for you. And we'll catch that, and we'll start through that in the next bit of clip.